File is brought to you in association with MTN.
Everywhere you go.
Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplast goes, water flows.
Star Assurance, your solid partner.
Ghana's most useful app. Hubtel is everything you.
Visit the St. Thomas Eye Hospital and get advice on which treatment works best for you.
Fernard Ghana. Think wood. Think Fernard.
Researcher concerned about the developments in the teaching field writes, a teacher who is supposed to teach your child writes a receipt 9 freaking times for basic literacy exams. What kind of education will your child be subjected to? Reginald Sechi Brown. So, as you know by now, a cumulative 7,728 have failed multiple times the teacher licensure examinations. They took the exams again last month, and only 1,277, a whole 6,481. That's a whopping 83% of the near 8,000 teachers failed. The embarrassing outcome is revealing and has left many shocked, especially seeing some of the scripts where teachers could not spell very simple common words, let alone form basic simple sentences. What is the problem when some 350,000 teachers have sat and passed the same licensure exams since it started in September 2018? In 2020, Jachi Kwesing won an election, beating the NPP's candidate by over 3,000 votes. Today, the NDC's national leaders must come in Assin North to try and maintain their hold over that seat. But there are allegedly no rooms for them because the NPP has booked almost all hotel rooms in town. And who leads the NPP flag bearer race and why? 7 have filed their nomination papers. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. We'll be right back to deal with these vexed matters.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem.
Oh.
In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the rock.
We go Robert and Sons right there. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
When you are born from Ghanaian soil, you are born rich. Rich in who you are.
with natural Guinean richness inspired by Mother Nature herself, just like our premium water, with natural minerals that create pure premium mineral water, made right here by the same Ghanaian soil that made you. Voltic, own your richness. Voltic, a product of the Coca-Cola Company. This advert is FDA approved.
My way insurance, send my way,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
The decision-making power of owners of a family business is profound. Therefore, the need for family business governance as a key strategy for continuity. Ravens Consulting GH presents Africa Family Business Summit 2023 with the theme Family Business Governance, a key strategy for continuity. The date is on 29th and 30th June 2023. Speakers for this year's summit includes Mrs. Odrijo Ezibo, Professor Martin Rowe, and many other speakers. Then your convener, Dr. Dennis Oteng. Venue, Kimpeski Gold Coast City Hotel, Accra, Ghana. Time, 3 p.m. for day 1 and 8 a.m. for day 2. To register, call 0202-712-647 or visit our website www.ravensconsulting.com/AFBS/. It's Africa Family Business Summit 2023. Partners, SEBS Africa, Rande, IOD Ghana. Other events, sponsors, La Bianca, GDC, Henley and Partners, Legacy Institute of Family Business, KED Wealth. This event is powered by Ravens Consulting GH.
Inabeye, nyaro, nyaro, enyo, nyaro, nyaro. Obrey, inabebo, nyaro, nyaro, enyo, nyaro, nyaro. Aseni, besini, aseni, nyaro. Aseni, besini, inabebo, besini,
Welcome back. And on Samson's take, on a light note, I title it, I am not Yvonne Nelson. Of course I am not. And I say, be faithful to the text. That's the most important message I want to get out there. Be faithful to the text. And George Cray, you know him. This weekend, this urging producers, directors, presenters, hosts, pundits and expert counselors and resource persons, etc., who want to have a word or say something about this book, to first of all read the book. That's its only plea. Read the book. Only 262 pages. That's not much. Immediately it was announced that it was ready. I was curious. I needed to know what the content is. So I made an order from Nook, and they delivered it. Before I could say Jack, my wife had finished reading it ahead of me, who bought the book for myself. So you may have seen commentary and criticism apparently in the name of the book. Please read it for yourself. So I say that the way we, particularly as journalists and hosts of shows, promote empty-head attention seekers in this town is really, really terrible. It's embarrassing. It reflects really bad on us. I have seen and read some supposed publications about comments purporting to critique the book. And it was very easy to discover right from the headlines that the newsmakers, those speaking, and the lazy news writers, including their editors, had not read a page of that book. If they tried reading, that is, if they can read, they should improve their store of vocabulary and English. I don't mean to insult you. So those who can read, I'll say that note that your reading of the book is incomplete without a reading and reflecting appreciation of, quote, a word from the author, end quote. She wrote that, and she meant that you should read that. And I say that no serious reader ignores the foreword to a book. Again, read the foreword. People who write the foreword have read the book, so that's what you do. I urge you, as the book will be the focus of discussions on entertainment shows this weekend, don't show up on a panel to discuss it if you have not read it. That's the least you could do if you have not read it. Don't play host to a discussion of the book if you have not read it. If you must discuss it, be faithful to the text. That's the ground rule. It's the basic first principle for any person who wants to analyze, critique any text. You must be faithful to the text. Don't tell people what you think when you have not told them what the text is. So I say, save any reputation you have. Don't embarrass yourself. And you that is commenting and purporting to critique the content of a book you have not read, no. Are you okay? See the fool you are making of yourself by your attention-seeking conduct. This book will be in the league of best-selling books you know about by American authors. So that will be my piece of advice. And those acting highly hypocritical, particularly the men, the focus is not about what you have focused the book on. But ask yourself, how many girls, women, ladies, did you ask out or ask for sex before you got married? Ask yourself that question. Girls get these dangers in our society. Some are faithfully seeking a friendship with you, and all your focus is on their skin, is on being able, to get through to them, to have sex. So imagine what they go through in life by the time a lady is ready to marry, there's statistics that show that a good number, dozens of men would have asked the person for sex. Think about it. I think that this book will help all of us to think in a certain way, particularly the men, that one day, you will be exposed. And more importantly, that you will now be careful and help your sisters rather than seeking only sex with them and to exploit and abuse them. That's my take. We're right back to get into the vexed matters that we are canvassing for you today. And this show, as always, is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN. Everywhere you go, Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. Duroplus, how you get your water matters. Remember, where Duroplus goes, water flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. And Cherry Tree Properties, we develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them ourselves. We'll be right back.
Since inception, almost 100% of Ashesi University students have found jobs, started businesses, or gone on to graduate school within 6 months of graduation. From Accra to Nairobi, London to New York, Ashesi graduates are noticed and they are leading successful careers. If you dream of a rewarding life and career, an Ashesi education prepares you for just that. Learn more about applying to Ashesi at www.ashesi.edu.gh.
When you are born from Ghanaian soil, you are born rich. Rich in who you are, with natural Guinean richness inspired by Mother Nature herself, just like our premium water, with natural minerals that create pure premium mineral water, made right here by the same Ghanaian soil that made you. Voltic, own your richness. Voltic, a product of the Coca-Cola Company. This advert is FDA approved.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. Oh. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert & Sons.
Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert & Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert & Sons right there. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My Way Insurance, Abamudia, send my way,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
When you are born from Ghanaian soil, you are born rich. Rich in who you are, with natural Guinean richness inspired by Mother Nature herself, just like our premium water, with natural minerals that create pure premium mineral water, made right here by the same Ghanaian soil that made you. Voltic, own your richness. Voltic, a product of the Coca-Cola Company. This advert is FDA approved.
or fatty liver. Obi on your catching so when you're hydronephrosis. Obi on my catching so when you're pyelonephritis, which is inflammation of the kidneys. Obi on my catching say the kidney you should be a big now. Obi on my send the creatinine and I send the JFR. And until we also wow now see to me tatai. I feel don't send me an atom. Johnson now be Johnson, who was a phone be about training. Kawakuma to you. And until now, they done healthcare. Yabase, yet number alternative way so and the south area.
So over Big Danka, it was serene environment with ultra modern facilities. As I was showing you there was Sprinters, Coca-Cola runabout, close to Fidelity Bank, Stand Chat Ichironuma.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It is authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. I'd like to commence today's show by congratulating Isaac Kajato, the overall winner of the Joy News Impact Makers Award. Impact Makers Awards, which was held yesterday at the Labadi Beach. We say congratulations to you and all others who made it to the list and all those who won. You keep improving your communities and bringing smiles to the faces of particularly vulnerable people in your communities. So we wish you all the very best. Thank you very much. Maybe at another time I'll say some more about Impact Makers. Right. Now, listen to this.
Pass rate of the licensure examination has been around between 60 and 70%. That is when you have fresh students mingling with reciters. But this year, the fresh students are moving into a new era of examination, a new dispensation. So they were not combined with, or they were not allowed to join the reciters. So it was exclusively for reciters, people who have written the examination 10 times, 9 times, 8 times, and so on, and have not been successful. And so their chances, in fact, studies have shown that when people continuously write the examination, they are not passing, their chance of passing is very very low. And so it's not a surprise that a lot of them could still not make it.
So if that's the case, what would be the remedy then for people like that? Because, like you say, after continuous writing for a number of times, it will be difficult for them to pass. What will be the remedy then?
Yeah, we are proposing 2 ways to deal with it. After November writing, if they are not able to pass, those who are diploma holders must go for further studies and acquire degrees to be able to do it. I think those with degrees who have not been able to make it, we need to do extra classes and so on to be able to do it. Fortunately for the degree holders, we are reforming the exam. And so the new reform may favor them because a lot of them complain about numeracy, literacy, because those are not their area of specialization. Somebody might have specialized in, let's say, Ghanaian language, but expected to write a paper in literacy and numeracy, and it's a challenge to them. But then the principle is that you need a little bit of literacy to be able to deliver in the class. If you're a teacher and you cannot express yourself, how will you be able to deliver? How will you be able to teach? How will you be able to explain concepts to the understanding of your learners? That's a challenge. And that is why a minimum level of literacy is so important for every teacher, irrespective of the area of specialization, because the means to deliver the content is the language.
Right. So you just heard Dr. Christian Adepoku, the registrar of the National Teaching Council. He's right here in the studio. Good morning, sir. Thanks very much for making time to join us.
Good morning, Samson, and greetings to our listeners.
Great. We also have joining this discussion Peter Nochu Kote, who is the MP Akachi North and Ranking Member, Education Committee of Parliament. Professor Ransford Gyampo, Professor of Political Science, University of Ghana, and Professor Nicholas Insoa Nyama, who is President, Dominion University College. Gentlemen, good morning to all of you and welcome to Newsfile.
Thank you very much.
Great. So, you have been very disturbed. I'm talking about you watching and listening now. Share your questions with us, your concerns, your comments. Let them come through. Tweet them. And remember, this is Newsfile. Tweet them at us, and we will file your questions to those who are right here in the studio and joining us by Zoom, because we have the right people to answer your questions. So, to start with, I began by reading a comment by this researcher by name Reginald Sechi Brown. And he said, a teacher who is supposed to teach your child writes a receipt 9 freaking times for basic literacy. Of course, numeracy is there, and then you have the other skills that you are asking. Exams. What kind of education will your child be subjected to? That's the sort of question that mirrors the way many people are thinking, parents, guardians, everybody else is thinking. What is going on? Such that over 7,000, almost 8,000 teachers sit an exam, which is supposed to be basic, very, very basic, in literacy and numeracy, and a whopping 6,481 fail, 83% of that number. You are in charge. What have you discovered? It's the problem. You've already started talking about the solutions. We'll get to that. But what is the problem?
Thank you very much, Samson. This comment is a clear buttress of the gatekeeping role of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination. I think the nation studied the trends over a long period of time. Before this time, to enter a college of education, one needed to write examination and then go through interview. I'm sure Honorable Nuchu went through that. I did. And then you were recruited. I mean,
that's after passing your WASI.
Yes. But at a point in time, the process was reversed. Now, we set a minimum qualification as set by Ghana Teacher Education Commission, and that is the minimum grade of WASI at grade 36. And that is all you need to enter a teacher education institution, whether it's a college of education or a university. And then you go through the training.
The minimum grade, the university stake is what?
36.
Universities?
Yes.
To enter a university?
To enter a university is 36. That is, you should have 666, an average of 6 in 6 subjects, 3 compulsory subjects, which English, Maths, Integrated Science, or Social Studies, and then your other 3.
So there's exactly no difference in the entry level grade for those who want to go to university and those who want to go to teacher training college.
Exactly.
Okay.
The difference here is that universities have cut-off point for specific programs.
Right.
If you go to nursing, I think currently nursing, if you have even a grade 16 and beyond, you won't get a chance to read nursing. So there's a cut-off point. Even though 36 qualifies you, nobody will admit you to do nursing at 36. That is the challenge we face at our end, one of the challenges we face. Then, beyond that, if
and for most of the courses in the university, the cutoff, even for the humanities, will be what?
18, 24.
24. Right. So is there a cutoff point for the entry to the training colleges as well?
Presently, no.
There is not.
There's no.
So 36 and you are fine?
You're fine. Okay. So whichever, from 7 or 6 to 36, whichever is still workable. Okay. And there are no screening, gatekeeping screening for you. So it's just open, the institutions take you. But that is not even the point, because the colleges of education still are a bit rigorous about how they select. But when it comes to distance trading, that is where the real issue is. Distance and sandwich programs are the biggest issues for us. If you look at NTC data over the time, at any point in time, you see average of between 50 and 65% of the people who fail are through distance. Through distance and a sandwich mode, and to some extent online. Regular candidates tend to do better in the exam. So the challenges are many, but for me, I always say that to some extent we can say that the candidates are victims, because institutions that are supposed to train them are supposed to bring them out well refined and fit for the purpose. Because you have admitted people not just for any program, but for a professional program. And so before you turn them out of the institution, they should be capable of fitting well into that profession. A profession that uses language to really train people's affective skills, psychomotor, and other skills, cognitive skills, and so on. If that person is not well adept in the knowledge, in the skills that the person is supposed to use in delivering, then we have a huge challenge. And that is why these basic things that people are not able to do is a problem. Something, it didn't start yesterday. From 2018, when licensure examinations started, we started seeing these things. In fact, we have had occasions to bring stakeholders together. On many occasions, I've heard teacher unions talk that we should have stakeholder engagement and so on. It's fine, we are ready for it. But I can assure you that Angel, my brother, knows all these issues long ago. 4 years ago, he was aware of this. King Ali was aware of this 4 years ago. Musa was aware of this 4 years ago, because we showed some of these.
You are mentioning people and you are not telling us who they are.
Oh, Angel Kabodo is the president of NAGRAT. King Ali is the president of CCT, and Musa is the general secretary of NAT. Beyond that, we have brought the universities together and made presentations to them. Some of these scripts that are in the system were not churned out by NTC. But what I can concede is that in most cases, when chief examiners finish their report, they attach some of these scripts as evidence of what is really prevailing. And they go through a lot of hands. Awards committee meetings, they have them. You have examination committee, and then you have the board. So it could have come from any of them who is so angry about what is happening. But the point is that it has always been there. And we have not sat down. We've been working behind the scenes, trying to find a way of dealing with this. That is why we are bringing a reform in the licensure examination. We have even approached, first the Ministry of Education, we have approached Parliament, trying to see how we can restructure or reform the entry requirements and so on to the colleges and so on. So we have a challenge. And I must also concede that even they go beyond the training institutions, sometimes we have to also look at the foundational level, right from the basic school to the senior high to the university. Because if the person is really good at the senior high and really deserved the WASI results that the person really used to enter college, then the person shouldn't have had a difficulty going through the licensure exam. So it also brings to question what actually prevails at the WASI level. And I must concede that there are so many things that happen, and I don't blame WAEC so much. Sometimes they even put WAEC personnel in danger. We have cartels around that the nation is not talking about. Some people set up private schools and they end up just cheating the system and getting people past examinations. And so when those people pass the examination, they really did not deserve the examination, the results they got. And if you don't create another sieve for them, a gatekeeping role somewhere to do a further check, then some people may slip in there who did not really qualify to be there.
You say, are you making some excuse for these people? That these are people who have actually been resitting, or may have been resitting for the first time, second time, third time, or I don't know to what extent. And yet, you make an excuse for them. You want to put the blame partly on their teachers before they entered, the teacher training colleges, on their teachers before they got they wrote the exams, the WASI. You're making an excuse for them.
To some extent, because something ordinarily, nobody is, excuse me to say, a stupid person. And so it depends on the strategy you use to train the person. And as they pass through all these hands, some diagnosis should have been made. If the person has a handicap somewhere, maybe medically or in any form, as they pass through this system, somewhere within the pipeline, somebody should have detected that this candidate or this learner has this issue, and therefore must be handled differently, because we cannot handle everybody at the same level. Some people are very, very smart. Some are slow learners, but they catch up and they are very good, and so on and so forth. So if we had been able to identify some of these people and their challenges and dealt with them before they got to where they are now, probably we wouldn't have experienced.
Would you say that the exam or the test that they would have written earlier, which was stopped, and the interviews that they would have attended before being admitted to the teacher training colleges would have helped?
It would have helped in two ways. One, if a teacher education institution was going to admit you and having interviewed you and having taken you through the exam, had detected your challenge. Let's say you had issues with literacy. Well, right from the time that you were being admitted, I knew that you had a challenge in literacy. So why don't you introduce me something like English language for, English as a second language for this candidate as an extra tuition while he or she goes through the training process. By the time the person completes in the 4 years, whatever the challenge is might have been corrected. That's one way. So the entrance exam would have been diagnostic in one way or the other for them, and the interview would have to. Secondly, it would have also meant that it stopped you from even entering in the first place. Do your remedies before you get a chance to enter. And when you enter, then it becomes seamless and smooth for you to complete. So these were some of the things that we thought we were bringing forth so that it will help the candidates to do better. Because forget about those in the colleges of education which government is sponsoring. There are people who have gone through this training 4 years. Their parents have paid fees for 4 years for them to complete, only to realize that these are the kind of products they will present to all of us. It's a worry. And the candidate having also spent all the time in the world for 4 years to go through this training, only to get to this point to realize that, no, I don't even fit for this purpose. It's also a worry. So right from the gate of the training institutions, we should diagnose their issues. We should either stop them from wasting their time or prescribe other measures that will support them while they go through the training, so that by the time they finish, they will be fit for purpose.
Right. I'll come to Peter Nochu, the MP who is on the ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, to also glean what it is that they, at their level, have also discovered some of the reasons we are seeing these results. But let me go to a teacher, Professor Prof Gyampo. Prof, the teachers are not doing their job well to a certain extent, admittedly. to bringing up these people who eventually end up in the training colleges and are unable to pass very basic exams. What do you say? Hello, Professor Gyampo. Okay, so Professor Nicholas Insoa, you have also been a teacher, and you have been at the forefront of education in this country and education reforms. Do you agree to that suggestion that this could be part of the reasons we have this class of students who can't seem to do the most basic things expected of a student, not even of a teacher?
Yes, and also to my other panel members. Yes, I myself, I'm a trained teacher.
Right.
I finished middle school, middle school, and then entered training college. And that time, there was what we call teacher training college examination. So entrance examination. So before you enter, you have to write the examination. So they sieve it. So those who enter, who get the opportunity to enter, are people who have really gone through some system. So that is where I agree with the first speaker, because if they used to have this entrance examination and interview and so forth. Right from that time, that is when who really can continue, can go to the college and become a teacher. Because becoming a teacher is one or the other going to be trained to be able to transfer knowledge. So first and foremost, you should have the knowledge before you are able to transfer it. So if we don't get the right people to enter the college, and anybody who passes C6 can just enter, then that is a big problem. And when you enter, you see, in fact, one other problem is that it's also possible that those who got C6, as the first speaker said, might not have even really gotten the C6 on merit. There could have been one way or the other, another way of getting it. Secondly, it is also possible, this is where I want NTC or GTEC to verify those who did not pass, who have not been passing. They should go to the background and see their entry qualification.
That's right.
It is also possible that even they had F or they had whatever, yet they were able to enter. So I'm not saying that that's what has happened, but that is one way we should go around it, to verify the qualification they used to enter. And remember, the NTC registrar was saying that those who failed, say about 70% of those who failed are the distance students or the sandwich students. Yes, how can you be a teacher? You want to be a teacher and you are sitting, you're somewhere, you go to your farm, you do everything, and then one weekend you go and meet somewhere, or sometimes you don't even go and meet anywhere. When you were going through the teaching, that's why the College of Education, perhaps they could even do better. When you're going through our program, you are always in the classroom. There is a teaching practice. You go there, and they come. You prepare notes. So how could you prepare notes, write lecture notes, go and stand before students, and when you are asked to write a letter, you are talking about Mr. Chairman, this and that. How did you go through even the first, the senior secondary school? How did you get to enter? So for me, the most important thing, the issue I think I foresee is the people who enter the colleges or they go to do education. Nowadays, I, for instance, in my village, I knew I wanted to be a teacher right from the beginning because that's the only person I saw as I could emulate.
Right.
So I decided I want to be a teacher. At the point, there are people who don't have that. It is because they didn't get another this thing. There's no way out, this and that. Then they decided that, let's pass through this route. And so my issue is, let us look at the entry qualification, go back to the NTC or GTech should go back to the background of those who have passed or who didn't pass and verify the entry qualification. Again, see, they didn't pass also sometimes because somebody was arguing that, why the questions they were set perhaps are outside what they have learned. How can you be asked to write a letter and you say it is outside what you have been trained or what you have been taught? The letter. It is also possible, now we are only looking at the literacy. It's also possible that when you go to the numeracy, it could be worse. Yeah, that may be simple division. A teacher may not even know, or not a teacher. The one who wants to be a teacher may not even know how to do. Or simple mathematics or arithmetic, they may not even know how to do. So NTC should also disaggregate. I mean, not just put them as 50% or so 82% didn't pass, only so pass. They should take the courses one after the other and see the deficiencies also there. And then the picture will be clearer to us that a lot of them are not, were not good enough to be a teacher. Of course, this has established it. Maybe when we come to the solution, then I'll talk about other things. But I think that is for me, the main issue NTC or GTech should consider.
Right. Thank you. So, Mr. Lieutenant, what do you also find from your committee? You've been discussing these issues, and you have also been speaking about matters in the education sector for a while. You're writing just 3 papers: literacy, numeracy, and essential professional skills. It sounds unheard of that these mass numbers will fail such, small exam, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Samson. Let me begin by thanking the registrar of the NTC for the cooperation that the committee has been having from him for some time now. Anytime we call him, there's an issue. He's really available to meet us. He invites us to their programs because anytime they come for a budgetary session, we query them a lot. So he in particular invites us to some of their programs. This year, the exam in which we recorded this month.
Mr. Adepoko has been in this education sector for
a very long time.
How many years now? A very long time. 30 solid years.
Yeah.
Right.
So we visited.
I remember he was at the forefront of the NAGRATs. Yeah, some years back. He was president, vice president to president. So you know the problems. Yes.
So we visited Accra College of Education. That's my alma mater. We saw the conduct of the examination, and I can tell you that when we went round, I managed to look at the answers some of the candidates were providing to simple questions. I was surprised. I said, are these people going to teach our children? Then we are in trouble. Yes. Common spelling. My brother, it was just too bad. So we just observed it silently and went away. So when the results came up, I wasn't surprised at all. Now, you see, there are entry requirements to colleges of education, as the registrar said. Yes, the minimum is 30. But I think 36. That's C6 is in all the 6 subjects. You are good to go. But when you go to where we have these distance programs, there is one entry requirement they call mature students. That is where the problem is. So you can get your E8 in English language all along. Then once you are 25 years, you qualify to do the program. And they are the problems, creating the problems in the service.
Talk about the distance and the sandwich program,
yes.
Those who came through.
Yes, yeah, so they are mature students, 25 years. But years ago, for you to be a mature student, I think it's about 35, 40. But they have brought it down to 25. So when they go there, they are not able to do well. We also have a problem with these distance program. You see, you go to the nursing profession. I don't think they run any distance program or sandwich. No. You go to the College of Nursing, and that's where you are trained as a nurse. Because you're coming to deal with human life. So if we are to teach, and you want us to do the course by distance, no, we have been telling the minister that the ministry must do something about it. Because there is a mass production of teachers.
It reminds me of University of Ghana. To be able to take up the law program, if you are working, they will say you must undertake that you will not work whilst you are doing the program.
Yeah. So they are producing teachers on a mass basis, and they are able to pass the examination because I don't even see the number of or the credit hours that they even earn. Whether they earn it genuinely, I don't know. So there's a need for the Ministry of Education and GTech to sit up. You know, this distance program came about during the National Youth Employment Program, when we have one module we call the Community Teaching Assistants. So those who had O-level or the WASE and they were at home doing nothing, they were engaged to help in teaching in these schools. But the ministry at a point saw that there was a need to train them if they wanted to be teachers. So the universities, I think Uniba and Kilkos, were engaged to do this. And I'm sure the money business or getting a lot of money out of this motivated them to enroll people outside the youth employment program. And that's what has created the problem we are facing now. So it is the entry requirement that we need to look at critically. And why do we allow teachers to be trained on weekend basis? You see, as the last speaker said, yes, I sat for an entrance examination to college, or that time it was a training college. And after even passing, they will take you through interview, and orally, and then when they find out that you are good, then they admit you. Yeah, so I think when he came last year and proposed that they wanted to conduct entrance examination, well, we told them we needed a cabinet paper on it. It's a major policy. So go and then get a cabinet approval and come back. And if you do so, and then the committee is well convinced, then we'll approve it that there should be budgetary allocation for entrance examination to colleges of education. I think that is one way we can improve upon the caliber of people who enter the colleges of education. And these universities that are running service programs.
When you look at certain professions, like the legal profession,
yes,
I'm sure you are very familiar with what happens in this country. Yeah. Not only in this country, it's not peculiar to the Ghana School of Law, where 2,000 or so apply to study, and then they go through the entrance exam, and less than 80% get the opportunity. Yeah. Why do you think there is this, overwhelming concern about the teacher's situation, not as much as it happens to other professions like law, medicine?
No, if you go to let me say almost every village in this country, there is a school. So there's a need for teachers. So the teacher turnout every year is great. People retire, people resign, people unfortunately also die whilst in service. So there's a need for replacement every year. Yeah, but I think the NTC, which at that time we were calling Teacher Education Unit, developed methods by which replacement could be done. So those years we even had 2 categories of teachers: the trained teachers and then the untrained, that we call pupil teachers. And pupil teachers in those years were very good. I was not taught by a trained teacher until I got to middle form 1. And they were very good. You see, that is why I am saying that we should take a second look at this distance training of teachers, because it is not helping the situation. Yeah.
So as we understand from you, there's a last opportunity for this number to retake the exam. What do you think you are encouraging? Somebody has sat this exam for how many times they can pass, and you still give them opportunity to sit. What do you think you are seeking to encourage here? Some say that's bad to start with, because you have seen that the quality assurance mechanisms for the entry level is the problem. And you want to cure the problem, and yet you are giving people how many times of an opportunity to still enter the profession?
Thank you very much, Samson. When we were in school, we used to have this poem we call, "If at first you don't succeed, try again." So at the outset of the policy, the crafters didn't think about putting a cap on the number of times one could write the exam. So the old system made it so open. And so if you are phasing it out, you give the people the last opportunities. So we gave them 3 opportunities to, redeem themselves. 2 of them have just gone. It's left with the last one. We have to be committed to our promise. So that will be given. But the new one that is coming, definitely there will be a cap. There will be a cap on the number of times one can write the exam. And these people, we are not just seeing them. Some of them, of course, might not be cut up. Cut for, sorry, the right preposition, cut for the job, and so may have to find their talent somewhere. But there are some of them that are redeemable, and so they may have to go through some training and so on and so forth and see if they can pass. If they're able to do that, that's fine. Other than that, they have to go for further studies, go to the university, study, and then come back and see if by that time they will be resourced enough to fit in.
Okay, there are questions specific to you, and I suspect that some of these people are quote-unquote victims. Ibrahim Basquet says, ask the basis of assessment and why you have not come out with any book that will spell out what the teachers should know before going for the exam. Muhammad Lamin asked Dr. Ade, for me, why you don't integrate that discipline in the courses offered in the colleges of education. So if you want to take, there's one which is actually almost tied to Muhammad Lamin's question. Francis says, why is the exam not based on specialized areas, but rather generalized? Why should a teacher doing early childhood education write the same exams as a teacher specializing in mathematics or secondary education?
Okay, I'll take the last one first.
Right.
Something in teaching, we have 2 main basic knowledge. That is pedagogical knowledge and then content knowledge. So the pedagogical knowledge is about the professional aspect of it that any other person would not have. Somebody may be good at mathematics, but may not be good at how it is taught. That's the difference between any other person who wants to teach and a trained teacher. And so the current one that we run is mainly pedagogy, how the person can apply the knowledge, the content knowledge in the classroom. That's why we brought these things. We are unable to integrate it into the examination at the college level because NTC is a gatekeeper. Before you enter the teaching profession, you must cross us. And we have a national teacher education curriculum framework that defines the confines of the training. And so it's expected that by the time you go through the training institution, you would have been well educated in these areas. So when you come, whether you are from UDS, you're from University of Ghana, you're from Ken UST, you're from University of Cape Coast, we bring all of you together and assess you whether you were able to be trained in the curriculum that we have put in place. And so that's the basis. Two, we are able to write.
Inherent in that question is the question by Sharon Ajiman. Why are kindergarten teachers and class 6 teachers writing the same exams? What is the meaning of basic maths and English?
Yes, up to the senior high school, as I said, content knowledge is different. As for the content, somebody may be a specialist in geography. We have not assessed, but the new one that is coming, it will assess it. Okay, that too, we are not assessing it. All we wanted to know is, if you get to the classroom, can you express yourself? Can you really communicate to the understanding of the learner? Can you apply basic numbers in filling your continuous assessment, in preparing your timetable, and so on and so forth? And can you apply the basic skills of pedagogy, classroom management, learning strategies, and so on? Basic for everybody. That's why we did it for all, because whether you are in secondary school or you are in early childhood, you all need to communicate.
Right.
You all need to apply basic numbers in analysis. And then you all need some basic skills to handle learners. So we did a flat one. However, I acknowledge what she's saying. Over the years, we have had a lot of, the universities have come up critiquing this one, saying that, no, we need to do more. And so we are now shifting, not entirely from this one, but we are adding up.
Correct.
We are adding up. So we are now
so the literacy, numeracy, but you do your specialized area.
We are adding it to it. Because you cannot just go into the class without being literate enough or numerate enough. So we are adding the content knowledge, because just as literacy and numeracy are exposing us now, there's a likelihood that content knowledge, some people will be exposed.
Professor Onyama, what do you say? Do you agree that the suggestion is almost like scrap the literacy and numeracy thing and just examine us in the areas that we teach?
No, I don't. And it's also because, as the last speaker said, you need to communicate. So how do you communicate? You need to know some 1, 2, 3 calculations. How do you do that? And how can you say you're a trained teacher? When you go to, say, the basic school, the primary 1 up to 6 or so, in fact, you have a class teacher. You don't have a special teacher for each of the courses or the subjects. So when you are a class teacher, I don't know now, but at the time you're a class teacher, you teach all the courses, everything. But even if you are not supposed to teach all, you still have to be able, if you're a social science teacher, you should be able to read, understand, communicate to the students, with the students. So that numeracy and literacy approach or courses or subjects have to be taught or have to be known by every teacher, because that's the basis for you being a teacher. And not only your specialization. Specialization, yes, is good, but even your specialization, how do you communicate your specialized subject, the knowledge to the students? If you take, say, for instance, you are teaching economics or even geography, whatever, there are some calculations there. So you should be able to also express yourself in those numbers and so forth. So those are the basic, the 2 courses or subjects are basic for every teacher. And that cannot be compromised.
Right. Professor Gyampo joins us now. Prof, do you share the view that the examiners should simply examine these people in their areas of expertise rather than add numeracy and literacy? Hello, Professor Gyampo.
Sorry. Hello.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. The exam is a quality assurance mechanism to assure us that we have the best, or at least the people that are going to teach our children are competent. What do you make of the results that have come out from those who have done the research? Some have done it so many times, and yet only as much as 83% failed.
Well, thank you, Samson. I think, first of all, I've been questioning the rationale for the introduction of the licensure exam. What did it seek to achieve? If for some reason we do not believe in the kind of training that are given at the various teacher training centers, why don't we strengthen these trainings, improve their infrastructure, and ensure that they are able to deliver effectively on their mandate? Why don't we also infuse licensure exam as part of their exam at the various teacher training centers, so that once a person gets out of the training center, he has his license? I do not see the essence of creating, always being in a rush to create power structures when problems that exist can be fixed. That's the first comment I want to make. I didn't know the reason why they went to sit in Parliament and to have this body to be doing this. Number two, I believe that Samson, the teaching profession, in my view, is a calling. I've been a teacher all my life. From 16 September 1996 up to now, I've taught in every department of teaching, from day nursery to KG to day nursery to lower primary to upper primary.
Okay. So Professor Gyampo's line is breaking. But to his very first point about why he doesn't understand why this was introduced in the first place, we need to understand why he doesn't think it should be there. And there's someone, Mark, sending us a message from the US, and he's just going to check what someone needs to qualify to teach in kindergarten in New York State. And the results he gets is that you need a bachelor's degree. So you need to possess a bachelor's degree. You must have completed some early childhood education coursework or have significant experience working in early childhood education with children under 6. And you must commit to obtain a New York State early childhood teacher certification within 3 years of your employment. Yes, Professor Gyampo. Okay, we still have a problem with Professor Gyampo's line. So what do you make of the intervention that Mark brings in to ask Professor Gyampo about why his problem that he has with this introduction?
I don't know. Change is always a challenge for a number of people. We had a system running, and there was no gatekeeper. But since the gatekeeper came, results that are coming are Professor Gyampo's answers. Because it is clear that if we had allowed the system to run the way he is talking about, all these people who have not had the chance to enter our schools would have just gone in. And that is the reason that we foresaw that with the explosion of distance learning, with the decentralization of teacher education, you know, hitherto it was only University of Cape Coast and to some extent University of Education, Winneba, and then the colleges of education. Now KNUST runs education. University of Ghana runs education. UDS Valley View, Catholic University, Presbyterian University, a number, Jackson College, so many. And so if all of them are sticking to a particular curriculum, when they are done, there must be somebody there, like all secondary schools, running a NACA curriculum. When they finish, there is a WAEC there to test you whether you really implemented the curriculum the way it's supposed to be implemented.
So have you checked to tell us where these quote-unquote bad students are coming from? Who is churning them out? Which of the institutions?
Oh, we even have institutional, if you call it a league table, we drill it down, we know where they are coming from. Almost every institution has some failures, but if you rank them, it's there. We have not been able to bring it out, but it is there.
So you must be doing something to those institutions.
Absolutely.
Like the Ghana School of Law, there is a body in charge of legal education. So they get up and they say, we have blacklisted, this is your institution. It's not up to scratch. You don't have the requisite libraries. The faculty is not sufficient enough. So they have, for example, taking some schools out. You can't teach students law to come to, sit the exams for the practical.
Yes, Education Regulatory Bodies Act, which Honorable and his team passed for us in 2020, empowers National Teaching Council to do accreditation of both teacher education curriculum and then teacher education institutions. So while GTEC is doing it for general accreditation, we are supposed to do it for professional. And it was 2020 that was passed. We are still working on the framework to start accrediting them. And when the accreditation starts, is there and then that we can write to you and say that the trajectory of the failures in your institution tells us that you do not fit to continue.
All right. Prof Gyampo, you were making your second point when one of our viewers, listeners, brought in an intervention about your first point, that if you want the best, this is the way you must do. So he wants us to take an example from a kindergarten teacher, what you need as a qualification to teach at kindergarten level in the New York State.
Well, thanks to him. Like I said, I was only questioning the rationale for doing that, and if there is good justification for that. I mean, as an academic, we are trained to give in to superior wisdom and superior argument, and so if there is justification for that so be it. But generally, what I want to say, something, is that the teaching profession is a calling profession. Teachers are called to be teachers. Teaching profession is not just for anybody, but it appears to me that the caliber of people who are venturing into teaching profession nowadays are people who are using the profession as a guarantee against their potential joblessness in future. Now, people get to school SHS3 and then they look at the fact that my senior brother has completed school for the past 5 years, he's not found job. My other sister has also completed school for the past 3 years, she's not found job. Then proactively, they tell themselves that then let me ensure that I don't go through the same challenge. And so let me go to a training college or training, let me go and train myself to be a teacher, because after all, when I'm done, I will be able to find job, and then I'll be able to receive some monthly salary. Now, because of this, people who do not have the calling to be teachers are all venturing into it as a source of employment for themselves. So they go and try the mathematics. They write it 1, 2, 3 times, math and English. They pass. They barely pass, and then afterwards they get into such training centers. If you have such people at those training centers, then when they are confronted with licensure exam, they will see the kind of responses or results that we've had. That is so embarrassing. The other point that we'll have to make is that the quality of training and teaching at these training centers also must be interrogated and questioned. Many of these institutions train these prospective teachers via distance, and we know the challenges that distance learning face in our part of the world, distance learning students are treated like second-class students, and the infrastructure is simply not there. And even when they have to meet their instructors once in a while, the numbers of students that the instructor would have to be engaging are such that no meaningful knowledge impartation can be given. And so why not? If you go through this and you are confronted with licensure exam, you would have difficulty. When we were students, we spent all our time studying and we focused on it. Nowadays, you have people doing all manner of things. In addition, they tell you that we are also distant learning students, and then the infrastructure isn't there. Teachers are contending with numbers. The books are not there, and so many challenges. And so, if you subject them through some of these difficulties, and then you want another body that may be not unempathetic to the challenges that they may have gone through, ask them to conduct exams, then you are likely to confront some of these challenges. The other point that I want to make, I don't know whether it's controversial, but I will still make it anyway, is the fact that something, don't forget that we ourselves, we elected to tell the IMF that we would impose some public sector recruitment fees on ourselves. Now, if we did that, it means that we'll be the system itself will not be comfortable in absorbing the over 7,000 students who went to write the licensure exam. And so we must also, I know the respected Christian Adaipoku is in your studio, and then he may want to rebut it, but I want to also put as one of the possible explanatory variables as being the fact that the system itself is not ready to recruit more people.
So plainly, in plain language, what you are saying is that because we don't have the resources to engage more teachers, we have deliberately ensured this mass failure.
I've given several reasons. I said this one is also part of the could also be part of the explanatory variable, that the system itself is not even ready to recruit more people. And so we must also factor that into the equation. And then I want to make the point that I was also disappointed when I saw the scripts of the students that were displayed publicly for Ghanaians to see. I've been told that it was not an official release from those who conducted the licensure exam. But I'm wondering the kind of system that they operate that will allow intruders to get into their system to openly to bring out scripts that have been graded and then be openly showcased to embarrass prospective students. I think it is something that is not professional. It is something that is not acceptable. As a teacher in a university, if you conduct an exam and a student fails, I am not supposed to be showing the student the script. If the student doesn't agree with a grade that they have been given, the student is at liberty to go for it, apply for remarking, and there are processes. And so the bit about also showcasing or showing publicly the scripts that have been marked to make a case in support of the failure of the teachers.
But to that your point, which you said you didn't know whether it would be controversial. Some will say you shouldn't think about that in the first place. That it's wrong to contemplate such a thing, that the state will deliberately orchestrate the exam in such a way to fail those who are sitting for it, so that it will help its cause because it doesn't have money to hire more teachers.
Something. Don't make it a big deal. Ghana, do we really have a state? Are we not being operated by politicians? Is the state not being operated by politicians? You see, were we not here that we spent few sums of money to go and procure past questions and we did all those things? So please, let us not say the state as if the state is some entity that the state itself is operated by human beings. And human beings are the ones who went to write this IMF deal, or who proposed or elected that, look, we may not be able to, we wouldn't want to, or we want to impose a certain public sector recruitment freeze on ourselves.
You are a teacher yourself. How is such a thing, a scheme, possible under your watch as a teacher?
Well, how is such a thing possible under my watch as a teacher?
Yes.
You see, to the extent that, you see, there is a deliberate effort to justify the failure. Okay, something, don't get me wrong, I have not used this as the only explanatory variable. I'm saying that it's an explanatory variable. It is the only controversial point. You noted that before you made it.
Well,
but I'm saying it is not the only variable. I said it's the possible explanatory variable. And I'm saying that what makes me even inch closer to that variable is the hit in which scripts have been thrown out there to justify or to support the mass failure, or to make a case that.
All right. Let me have Professor Suanyama. What do you think? Is what he's saying unthinkable?
Honestly, I don't want to support that, and that is because when the questions are set, it's not one person marking. These are different people with a marking scheme who go through the marking and then bring out the results. So for me, as a trained teacher, as a university lecturer, and so forth, I cannot see how I cannot think of how somebody will intentionally do things to be able to get students to fail to make a point. Honestly, I don't, but he has his own opinion. But in my opinion, I don't think that
okay.
Should be
now let's quickly outline some of your recommendations to overcome this issue. It has become very clear, around this table that long distance and sandwich programs don't seem to give the students the best, and that this may largely account for what is happening. Number two, that the initial program where there was the opportunity to test the students and interview them before they gained entry into the teacher training colleges, that's sifting system, the absence of it is also to look at. And then the teachers who are teaching these students to write their WASI and so on also must answer some questions, because if someone has passed WASI and simply can't express themselves, can't write a full sentence to save their lives, then it's worrying. So what are some of the solutions that you will proffer? Hello, Prof.
Yes, something.
Professor Nyama first.
Okay. Yes, I think that the entrance examination for especially the colleges of education, for me, should come back, because that is where we have the receiving point. That's where we can know those who really want to be a teacher, who can be a teacher. That one, I think it should come back. When we come to the universities, because universities, we cannot control the admission, but there should be a cutoff point for those who want to go and do the Bachelor of Education, and especially because they are going to do the Bachelor of Education with the intention of coming to the teaching field. So they should have a cutoff point, not the aggregated 6 type of thing. They should have a cutoff point. Thirdly, they should NCTE or sorry, not the GTech.
Sorry. The cutoff point that you are seeking, just like we find if you wanted to go and do some other courses in Legon or elsewhere, that you will encounter. Don't you think there is a certain disincentive? That is why for the teachers training colleges, a lot of room has been allowed. Else you are not going to get people, unlike your days, when people looked up to a teacher and admired a teacher, were inspired by a teacher and wanted to be a teacher. Today we celebrate money, quick money. It doesn't matter where it is coming from. So people are not looking up to a teacher and wanting to become a teacher. Don't you think if you put such stringent cutoff points, you are not going to have numbers in the teacher training colleges to be able to produce teachers to take care of our situation?
No, first and foremost, every year, I think the College of Education, they have a lot of students who don't get admission. Even with that, with this aggregate 36 or so forth, they still have a lot of students who can't get admission. That is one. Two, what is the point of, getting people to go in because we need them, but they don't really qualify. They can't qualify. Why do they have to go and spend all the time there? And then in the long run, they can't get into the field where they wanted to go to. And it's also because once you get there, in fact, our days, the examination, you take it 3 times. First, you don't. Second, the third one, that is it. You finish it. So what is the point? And I know people who could not do it, so they had to go find their way somewhere. So what is the point of getting the mass people to go in? Because we want more students or more teachers. And then in the long run, those who qualify to be teachers are very few. Meanwhile, money has been spent on them during that time. So if you are not ready to be a teacher, don't pass there. So for the entry qualification, it should not be a wholesale that because I want to be a teacher, and as somebody said, because I cannot do this, so let me pass through the College of Education, or let me go through this so I can become a teacher, not because he wants to be a teacher. So I think that we should not allow anybody at all who has decided to be a teacher for one reason or the other to come there and distort the system.
But generally, you will agree that we need a certain national, consciousness about what we choose to celebrate. We say the teacher's reward is in heaven. And all of this, we may not be thinking about the impact that it has on children and people who are growing up and want to decide on professions, that the teaching, profession will be the least that they will think about. We glorify wealth, quickly gotten, and we can't trace the source. In our various churches, the people with deep pockets are the ones who are deacons, and we are elevating them all the time. We are praising them. The teacher who is training, the minds of the generations, those who, propel the nation's prosperity, hardly is recognized. So there is something that must be done nationally to the psyche of the Ghanaian, right?
Yes, I agree with you. Because even those days, we were highly respected. Those days in the villages, we were highly respected.
Right.
And the salaries were not high, but I think in those days it was reasonably good to survive in the village.
Right.
Yes. But now, if you get a graduate, a teacher, and perhaps you compare him to another graduate doing something else, you will see that the teacher is not paid very well. And so the idea that people, your reward is in heaven, now does not play any role at all.
Right.
So perhaps the ministry should think of a way of awarding teachers, but not only maybe financially, but other incentives that they could create to make the profession very attractive.
Right.
And if it is attractive, people see it as attractive. We got attracted because those we saw in the villages were looking to this thing. They were, people we could emulate.
Yeah.
So if people now can see that, if you're a teacher, these are things that can happen to you, these are the benefits, these are this, I think you get a lot more people who will be interested in going to that field. So after CV, you still get a lot of people who can still enter. So there should be a national policy to make the teaching the teaching profession a better place.
Thank you very much, Professor Anso Aniama, for your time. Thank you very much indeed. And we were told these stories, and I'm not 50, but I was inspired by a teacher, and I wish initially I felt I wanted to be a teacher, but these days, people who are getting the best grades, so to speak, are hardly contemplating wanting to be a teacher. So, Prof Gyampo, what will be your list of recommendations to overcome this situation? Do you agree with what the council is thinking about to add examination on the subject areas that these teachers are involved in, and not limit them to only literacy and numeracy, so to speak?
Well, I think that I will make a recommendation that goes beyond that. Generally, I would agree with what the Professor
Nyama,
Nyama has said. That can we put in place mechanisms to ensure that only those who have the calling to be in the teaching profession get into it? That for me is key. That's the major thing, the main thing that we must put in place to ensure that people would not just get in because they are looking for jobs, but people who would get into the teaching will be aware that, look, it may not be well paying, but it's a noble profession that you may want to get in. And even though people say your reward is in heaven, sometimes if you work hard, you receive your reward here. And so we should ensure that those who get into the profession of teaching are people who have the calling on them. And then the other bit is that, yes, that will come in the receiving examinations that may be undertaken. We should ensure that if you are not academically brilliant, what business do you have going to teach? You are going to be teaching. And so you yourself must have a certain IQ, you must have a certain brilliance, you must have a certain smartness so that you can be able to impart same to students. And so there should be a more receiving examinations that are undertaken or conducted to be able to ensure that those who get there to be trained have what it takes to receive further training as prospective teachers. I think if these two are done, then I think we will be making giant strides in our efforts to ensure that those who get into the profession are people who have what it takes to be there. But the other point that I made that you said you didn't allow me so much to make, I think the professor said he wouldn't think like the way I'm thinking. He did not say it is not a plausible explanation. So I maintain that as we look at
well, you could also say that he's being very diplomatic in his response.
Oh, don't reason for him,
because you just reasoned for him. You just reasoned for him.
So I'm saying that it is part of, but something. I mean, really, if a government has said that there's going to be public sector recruitment fees, how is it going to absorb 7,000 prospective students into the system? I mean, let's be. Has
there not always been some freeze of sort on some jobs? Must the government take, a deliberate step like a scheme, like you suggest is plausible, to fail teachers?
So if you
7,000 teachers.
You are just saying it's a reasonable it's a reasonable guess that you are making, and I think I'm entitled to make that reasonable guess. So
yes, but you are making it on such a big platform, and what it might influence in the public discourse may not be the best.
Well, I wasn't emphatic. I said that it is a reasonable explanation. It's a plausible variable that will have to also be taken into account. And so, if it is not the case, I'll be happy that I'm proved wrong, and it will be for the betterment of the good people of Ghana, because I've said, and labor unions have already made it clear to government that bit about public sector recruitment fees, it is not going to work. I mean, we'll fight against it. And so, if this explanation...
The basic principle from where I sit is that he that alleges must prove. So you shouldn't wait to be proved wrong. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Those were good suggestions for recommendations for improving the system. Yes, you at the committee level in Parliament, a good number of you come together, to put your heads together over what can be done to improve the situation. So, what are you thinking about? Dr. Prince Hamid Ama, MP for Kwesi Mintim, who is also Vice Chairman, Education Committee of Parliament, he says the results from the licentiate exams validate, the policy decision to introduce the teaching regulatory body and the licentiate regime. However, it's important to understand the underlying reasons for the mass failure. Beyond verifying the background of the candidates, we need to map the candidates who failed to the colleges they graduated, together with the modes of training, whether private or public, distance or full-time. Such desegregated data will help in policy reform at both the college level and systems level. It's also important to map the exams with the College of Education curriculum and the Teacher Education curriculum framework to identify alignments or otherwise. NTC, GTEC should rank and publish the performance of candidates according to their schools. This could serve as demand-side accountability system and invoke some competition among the colleges. Parents, guardians are likely to apply to the high-performing colleges for their children or wards.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the registrar has promised that he will segregate the results and provide the committee with what the vice chairman is asking for. Because if we just enveloped the failure and then blame it on one institution or the other, I think it will not be fair. So he has promised, and I know he will see us on it. Yeah, so the committee, as I said earlier, we've been working with him. But we need to look at some of the requirements and then the recommendations that the people are making. Especially, I have challenged the distance and the sandwich. That one, the NTC, as a regulatory body, must look at it carefully. At what level do we have mature students? Is it because somebody has just finished GSS for 10 years and they can go and then study to become a teacher? No, I think we don't have to cheapen teacher education in the country. That's why I support the entrance examination, because we'll be able to sieve those who are good and those who cannot make it. Yeah. So, yes, I think WAEC should also be helped by authorities that are responsible, because if you go to examination centers, the cheating that takes place is not good. Things were not like that. Students these days are not ready to learn, but they want to pass. You see, so if we don't put measures in place, I think we'll continue to have these type of results. Okay. And where even communities are ready to support cheating in the school examination, it's not the best. We have records of all those things. Well, I think as a country, we need to take a second look at our educational system. How do we make sure that we get the best of our children when they go to school? Yes, then the subject area examination. Yeah, I think that is important. But what you also need to do is, if you just go academic, what about the professional aspect of it? That one, they should not gloss over it. Yeah, but I think finally the NTC, as a regulatory body over teacher education in the country, should also make it part of the curriculum in the colleges of education, so that as they progress from level 100, by the time they reach level 400, as they are coming out, they write the licensure examination.
They write it immediately?
Immediately. Yeah, they don't need to come out, go for national service for 1 year, and then set a time for them maybe after 1 year or more before they write the examination.
You're encouraging the chew and pour kind of...
Not necessarily, because when they go on national service, they really forget about it.
When you do the service, you acquire experiential knowledge.
Yeah, that is a different thing.
You get practical, hands-on stuff that you can use. And that's actually the best measure of who you really are when you put that on paper.
Yeah, you'll be surprised that even some of them from the university doing their Bachelor of Education, they don't go to the classroom for national service. They want even to be at the bank. They want to be as SNIT. They want to be at so place. We're surprised. So
we should not be encouraging that.
Yeah.
So we should not be encouraging that. That you make them come and write for a professional certificate when all they want is to go and sit in a bank.
Let them write as they are, because if we look at the nurses, they finish, as soon as they finish, they write their licensure examination. And that is the end.
But professions, you know, for the professions that many envy and want to belong to, there is continuous, examination.
Yeah, but that will add
to prove that you are still up to scratch.
Yeah, but after your licensure examination and you are employed, at least for your promotion, they have other programs that they run for them, which I think they use as credit hours. Then that can add up for your promotion.
Okay. Yes,
that is what I will.
Dr. Adepoku, there are people who are asking questions, including Fred Forsing, who is questioning bottom line. He has a number of questions, but the bottom line is that what is it that this exam will do for a student who has been professionally sort of certified by the UCC, gone for training as a teacher, and he's passed out as a teacher? What will 2 hours of exam add to that student?
Okay, Samson, before I tackle that question, a little to what Honorable said, on the national service, so those who train as teachers, when it is time for posting, they post all of them to schools so that we can monitor them, because they go through induction training. And the reason we are not able to do the examination immediately they complete the university, one of the reasons is that when you complete, it takes time for them to compile the results for you to graduate. And the first condition is that you must graduate. When you complete university in, let's say, August, maybe by September, you do the graduation. We used to write the examination, the first one in September. Candidates apply and they do it. But this particular year, 2022 batch, because of the reforms that we are embarking, these have delayed for almost a year. That's acknowledged. Coming to the substantive question that the person asked, people have critiqued examination over years. That it's not the best measure of people's competence. But the unfortunate thing is that the world has not been able to find a substitute for examination. And so, yes, UCC might have trained you and given you a certificate. But if UCC has trained you and given you a certificate to go and teach, and you cannot write a simple letter of 200 words, that is the question that my brother should ask University of Cape.
You are actually embarrassing that institution.
I'm not doing
embarrassing your teachers. I'm not saying you. Yes. I'm saying the one who sat that exam.
Yes.
You're embarrassing your teachers.
That's it. So the sentimental aspect must be taken out of the system and look at the problem critically. Coming to Professor Gyampo's issue of IMF pinch of salt theory, I want to say that, honestly speaking, I've listened to him and he articulates very well. But on this particular one, being a teacher, I expected very little on this. Because you're a teacher, you know that with your professional competence and professional autonomy, you will not want to mark a student to fail when the student has actually passed an examination. And those who mark these scripts that I'm talking about are from the universities and colleges. So they are his colleague professors and doctors who are marking this licensure examination. They set the questions, the chief, I don't set questions. I am just the moderator here, but the questions are set by professors and doctors like him. And when we finish, we calibrate the results and release. So for him to question the results in that way, and in fact, there is a trend. There's a trend every year. In fact, my minister asked me to do a 3-year analysis for him. And cumulatively, we have about 36% of the candidates failing for the past 3 years. And there are many factors that are contributing to this. We don't have the time. I would have opened up and give you a lot of reasons. Hitherto, people were passing very well 2018, 2019, 2020 because we were not serializing the questions. And essential professional skills, for instance, is purely multiple choice. So if an invigilator looks away and allows candidates to teach in the examination hall, what was happening is that somebody would just go and answer all the questions, come and stand there and say number 1, A, B, C, and everybody will pass. So in 2020, we introduced something we call serialization of the questions. I'm telling you something that year, we had 76% failure. And then the Minister of Education said, no, if you have had this, candidates are complaining about reading materials and other things, so can we do something? So we decided that we were going to have we call it, we had a number of questions, put them together and put them online for test preps. So the candidates could go online. The moment you register for the essential exam, a link is sent to you, and then you go online. There are sample questions, about 600 of them, for you to practice. So that it will help you.
They are the bigger problems. You see, students at Assin University are not invigilated for the exams they take. Students in a Bible college, people who are preaching the word of God have to be vigilated because they are caught cheating. So this is the problem. But Prof Gyampo had, what he said is the overriding recommendation, far-reaching, that you make sure that nobody gets into the college who hasn't got sort of a calling to be a teacher.
I like that.
How are you going to do that?
I like that because apart from the exam, the interview, you go through inventory. So the inventory will tell us whether you have the attitude and aptitude to be able to...
Is that really possible?
Oh, many professions do that. They have a well-established inventory that when a candidate sits before you, you ask the person questions that will expose the candidate whether the person is using teaching as a stepping stone or really is interested in becoming a teacher. It may not be 100%, but it will give you some level of credit.
If you ask the Venerable Sam Okujeto, who has taught us law for a long time, he'll tell you that when you ask the students when they come fresh and he's teaching them, and he's asking them, what's your motivation? They will all say, we want to get a law degree, a certificate, called to the bar to practice, so that we can help the downtrodden, so that we can help the vulnerable and the poor. But once they finish, almost 90% stay in Accra. If you had 100 who came from Kumasi, you may have just about 5 of them returning. So we are hypocritical.
Well, that may be true to some extent, but over the years, these are inventories that have been applied in academia to test people's attitude towards these things. So maybe...
So how soon do you want to introduce a new one where you are bringing in the specialization as well?
I've sent my memo to the minister. And as Honorable indicated, they would need cabinet approval. So the minister will go through the process. I'm just hoping that by November, when we are defending our budget, they will give us the approval and the funding to be able to do it.
All right. Thank you so very much. My guests, you have been listening to over the last almost 2 hours dedicated to this very important subject matter, Dr. Christian Ade Poku is the Registrar of the National Teaching Council. Professor Nicholas Nsoanyama is President, Dominion University College. And Peter Nochu is MP, Akachi North, and Ranking Member, Education Committee of Parliament. Prof Gyampo is Professor of Political Science, University of Ghana. We'll take a quick break. When we return, I have Alex Segbefia, Director, NDC International Relations Directorate, Ben Epson, pollster and Managing Editor, Daily Dispatch newspaper. Professor Gyampo stays with us, and Richard Ahiaba, Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party, will join us to look at matters arising from Assin North and the 7 who have filed their nominations, hoping to lead the NPP into the 2024 elections. We'll be right back.
The court, in its own wisdom, dispense of his presence in court, which means that effectively he is supposed to come after the elections. And so clearly we want to be thankful to the court, the judge, and to say that we are most grateful for the ruling given to us today, because we have achieved what we wanted to achieve.
Jachi Quayson, at the time he swore the oath to become a member of parliament, did not have any other citizenship. Adamu Dramani Sakande, at the
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb set.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
When you are born from Ghanaian soil, you are born rich. Rich in who you are, with natural Guinean richness inspired by Mother Nature herself, just like our premium water, with natural minerals that create pure premium mineral water, made right here by the same Ghanaian soil that made you. Voltic, own your richness. Voltic, a product of the Coca-Cola Company. This advert is FDA approved.
My way insurance, my way.
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. Kasa no way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
our children must be free to shine.
The taper of declaring plastic and what? And then no. Can you not touch with them? They are dear you. As I can introduce DBS lifestyle guest trusts amount. They say, baby, I say, Yama minimum the day. And you know, you dance. And no crow. No sending near Benina and your papa. So DBS lifestyle guest trusts. Yet the computer not generated. Into Edna, then go straight. And the piece of air not guilty. And want to mean at the end. And good answer after ball. Finito. More musicians saw that. More musicians factories. And I said, that is Biano. Me recommend DBS Trust. DBS Trust. Finito.
Pascal's showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased. But now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that the wells can store many, many messages. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded your contact center yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Welcome back. This is News File, the most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on News File, we put Ghana first. It's been a week where there's been a lot of talk about Assin North, Jachi Kwesin. In just 3 days' time, Tuesday, the by-elections there will happen because the Supreme Court pronounced recently that he had allegiance to a country other than Ghana. And that was supposed to be Canada, because he was once a dual national of that country as well. He had a dual allegiance to that country in addition to Ghana. At the time he picked his nominations to contest. So it doesn't matter that he got his renunciation certificate by the time he was elected and sworn in. That is the law. At the time you are filing your nominations, make sure that you are clean. So because of that, there's a by-election and the campaign has been heated. It looks like both the NDC and the NPP, all of them, national leaders are gravitating to Assin North. But this week, things were heightened as Jachi Kwesin, the criminal trial, his lawyers sought the opportunity so that he would be excused from coming to court until the elections there were over, and he didn't get that. And then applications started flying. Eventually that was determined yesterday. Even though it was determined against, the application was not granted, the NDC says they got what they wanted. After all, he's not going to, the daily sittings will not start until the 4th of July. So let's begin the discussion. On that note. Prof Gyampo, start with you on this. Some say, well, the court or the judge brought all of this brouhaha on itself, because if at the earlier dates, when the request was made that the court should consider the fact that there's a by-election, he has to, campaign, and therefore he should be excused until the by-elections had been done, so that at least from the 29th he could be attending court. If the court had agreed at that time, all these brouhaha would not have come up with accusations that, the judiciary was sort of in cahoots with government to deny him the opportunity of campaigning and all of this. What do you say?
Well, thank you. That was my view initially when I heard that the Atiku case was going to be heard on daily basis, and that even if he is supposed to be campaigning, he will be asked to be part of the court process because the case is criminal. I thought it was quite, it deepened the perception that, look, the judiciary is being manipulated in a way to give a certain advantage to the ruling party's candidate in this by-election. But I am happy that some of us spoke publicly against this, and I'm sure the judges, they live in society, and so sometimes they also listen to comments and the sentiments and mood of people. So I am happy that at least in the subsequent ruling, I think they have said that the guy can go about his campaigning while the case hearing, goes on. So it is good. The judiciary itself has a responsibility to work in such a way that it will repair its own image in the eyes of many Ghanaians. Because there are so many Ghanaians who feel that judicial independence has been quite is getting sacrificed, day by day. And so some of these second views or second rulings or verdicts coming from same judges would help in repairing the image of the judiciary as a whole. So I wouldn't want us to hit them hard too much because the judiciary is all that we have. And when it gets
but the question is the question is that two lawyers make an argument. The NDC's lawyers make the argument that there's a by-election, so give him some space. The Attorney General is in court, and he also makes the argument that don't let him determine how things will go on in this court. We must have a speedy trial. And the Attorney General's arguments win the day. Why should that be stretched to these claims that it is the judiciary that is sort of working with the government to frustrate someone?
The argument that the Atiku is contesting an election and that it's a national assignment and that he wasn't running away should have been compelling. People have won elections while they were even in prison. And so to the extent that I was told that what the Atiku was, the journey was embarking was quite personal and non-national, I found that kind of argument ridiculous. And I believe the judge merely exercised a certain discretion that later on he or she found out that, look, that was not in the best interest of even our electoral politics and our democracy. And so if the decision was valid from the first one, I think it's something that we must commend. But I purely believe that the Attorney General's argument shouldn't have been upheld in the first place. It was quite ridiculous to say that the assignment or exercise wasn't a national exercise. It's an important exercise about the presentation, 7 constituent interests. And so I thought a judge could have disagreed right from the word go with the Attorney General. But they have a lot of discretion that they also exercise. So if they exercise that discretion and later vary the discretion, I think it's all good for Madagascar.
Okay. Yes, so now these elections, from where you sit, why is it almost like a do-or-die affair for the two parties? And why should it be so difficult for the NDC to retain the seat after its candidate, won it by a margin of 3,305 or so votes?
Don't forget that in same election, at the presidential race, the candidate of the NPP won. So the NDC won the parliamentary seat there, and then in the same election, President Akufo won. It tells you that, the people there, they are quite cosmopolitan. And then the Assin North is the coming together of people from all backgrounds. And so they are quite discerning, they are quite rational, and it can swing anyway. Don't forget also, if you look at history, NDC has won the seat, MPP has also won the seat on several occasions. So it's a keenly contested election. And the other bit is that he who wins this particular election would have a certain bragging right and will have a statement for Ghanaians. MPP is seeking to break the 8. If they win this election, it would help them to propagate this particular statement. NDC is seeking to take power from the MPP, and they are saying that the MPP has disappointed Ghanaians, and that Ghanaians should give them another chance to come and govern the country. If they should win this election, it would also be a plus for them in terms of the message that they want to canvass and deepen among Ghanaians. And so it's a keenly contested.
It's already their seat. So why should it make any difference? Yes, it's a fact. It's a fact that Akufo-Addo beat Mahama there in that same election by over 1,000 votes.
Well, it is their seat, like I said. It is their seat, but to the extent that they didn't vote, they voted skirt and blouse. Split ticket voting was what they did. The extent that they did that, it should tell you that the people could vary their views and their voting patterns depending on how things go. And it's not a safe seat for any political party. And if you are going into election in an area or in a constituency that can be described as an unsafe seat, then you must approach that process of electoral caution and then with a lot of interest. And so that's why the two parties are keenly competing among themselves. Now this time, you see, during such elections, you hear accusations of vote buying only from the ruling party side because they may have the resources. But this time, what we are hearing is that the accusations of vote buying across the political divide. They are all doing all they can to.
But it's a fact, isn't it? The opposition cannot outdo the governing party if they are buying votes.
They can't outdo them in terms of vote buying. But the point is that vote buying, no matter how little it is vote buying, and it is something that undermines the expression of the popular choice of the people, and it's something that we must not sort of support or countenance or tolerate, as a people in Ghana. And the possibility of such keenly contested elections to generate in violence is always high. And so I would call on the police that just as we did in the lead up to the Kumewu by-election, I know that an unfortunate incident happened, and one of them was sadly murdered this week, and many of them are grieving. But I would urge Dr. Dampare that he should assemble his men to the place and make sure that they are proactive so that the competition does not degenerate into violence.
Okay, thank you. Ben Epson, thank you so very much for your time. What makes this by-election, a lot more special, so to speak, is what the parliament is now, isn't it?
Good morning. Well, I think that, Assin North in 2012, NDC won with the parliamentary presidential. 2016, NPP won both presidential parliamentary. 2020, NPP won the presidential, and NDC won the parliamentary. I think that the difference in 2015 was that the equation comes from Assin Breku. The lady candidate for the MPP came from another town. This time, both the NPP candidate and the NDC, they are both from Assin Breku. The lady who contested has been campaigning for the NPP candidate. And because of the resulting advantage in Parliament, clearly you will see that both parties want this seat so badly. For Crescent, the sympathy vote that would have gotten has been dimmed a bit because some NDC people were trying to influence the swing voters that when there is by-election, your votes get done, money comes from both parties. So let's vote Crescent in. If he loses, then he is another by-election. But, you know, the court asking him to go back to campaign has dimmed that. Now, for the NPP candidate, the little investigations I've done about him, it seems that he had been preparing himself something for politics. For the past few years, he's had an NGO who helps children with exercise books, does help the disadvantaged and so on. So that places him with an advantage. And if something were to gamble with your last 100 CDs, I think that it's too close to call, but I would advise you to put your money on the NPP candidate.
Really?
Yes.
That's a Herculean task. Over 3,000 votes. Oh, that's not too much.
You see, the lady who contested is not Assin Breku. Assin Breku is the biggest settlement within Assin North. He came from, person was from Assin Breku, and the lady was from another area. And the lady had issues with some of the NPP people in Assin Breku. That is why the lady who had won and contested earlier, that is why this time she was asked to stay aside. So both candidates coming from Assin Breku and the lady popular in another town campaigning for him. Now the MPP candidates, as I told you, have been doing a lot of philanthropic work within Assin North.
Yeah. The question I asked you earlier was that, is it not because of how Parliament is shaped now, as far as the numbers are concerned, that both parties appear to see this almost like a national election?
That is true, but it gives you an impetus. And John Mahama seems to have given it an extra edge by saying that the assembly elections is a determinant of the performance of the NPP government. So if the NPP win, they will say John Mahama has, by his own admission, confirmed that the NPP is doing well. If the NDC wins, they're going to say, well, Assin North is a swing constituency, and by the result, it shows that you've not been doing well. So apart from the resulting advantage, something in Parliament, I think that it gives both parties a bargaining chip.
Yes, but so you have been watching politics for a long time. How much influence, do by-elections have on national elections?
Oh, it's more propaganda value. It's more something of propaganda value, in terms of what people will think, what people will say. I must say something that with 17 months to vote him, it's going to be anybody's game. But this one is going to be basically the advantage in Parliament and bragging rights towards 2024.
All right. So hold it on for me there, and let me come to Alex and Ayaba, Richard. So, Alex, yes, as we understand, your national leaders are trooping in there. Just about 2 days ago, is it Haruna Idrisu and some others? We understand, and we saw them in videos where they were doing, these days, what do you guys call that campaign again? You do door-to-door? Not really, it's a door-to-door, but you call it something else. Yes. So, why do you find it that a seat that you hold within an excess of 3,000 votes, you must do so much to hold it?
First and foremost, good morning to your viewers and my colleagues on the Zoom and yourself. I don't think that there is a problem with that position, because by-elections historically have been considered to be favorable to incumbent governments by virtue of the fact that they go in with all the sweetness, etc., and they put a lot of effort into ensuring that they get the seats, because it is normally also seen as a reflection of the government's performance at the time. So, except it is a stronghold of a political party like Kumaru, it is swing constituencies are always considered a barometer or a measure of how government have performed. So what John Mahama says is not.
But if you are buying votes,
yes,
how then do you celebrate it that this is a reflection of my performance when you bought the votes? And they are not genuine votes.
We all know this, but that is how it is perceived. It gives you a propaganda value, some form of bragging rights. But you ask the very pertinent question, what is the effect of this on a general election? And the answer is nothing. General elections have a totally different, it's a totally different creature or animal. And so the odd by-election here and there will not tell you one way or the other what is going to happen in a general election. And I've always maintained that on any program I am.
But even if it's of propaganda value, yes, that is significant, isn't it?
Yes, up to a point. So, but it's a swing constituency. So I'm very realistic about what the position is. For me, the NPP have more to lose than we do. Yes, it was our seat. But they have actually created a sympathy value for Chachi Kwesi, because they have created the impression that they are doing everything to ensure that he doesn't have a fair election process. You asked a very important question to Professor Gyampo about the judicial processes that have been going on. And no one takes away from the discretion a court has to set dates, as often as possible, yes. But ethically or even morally, you're a lawyer. How many people are sitting in remand who have not seen a courtroom for over a year? They don't have rights to quickly have their cases heard. And all of a sudden, in this case, we know about the rights of a country to ensure that people are heard daily. So we create problems for ourselves in any infrastructural group, judiciary, executive, when you pick on this particular case. So the only conclusion you draw is that the executive are interfering with the judiciary. Because there are numerous people in this country who are actually in custody. They haven't even had a hearing. They are innocent, but in custody. And even to get a date to go to court, they haven't even given them a date.
You're actually speaking to my prison project.
Well,
and in my prison project, I visit the prison, speak to, people on remand particularly. And the last time I was telling this story and somebody was shocked that people have been there, their warrants have expired, yeah, nobody bothers.
No.
They are just left to rot, like Sir Kwabwatin found out. Somebody has done 20 years, just need to see a judge after being put on remand, not that they have been convicted.
No.
And they don't have the opportunity.
So, but all of a sudden, in Chachi Kwesi case, we know day to day. It is totally political. That's the only conclusion that I can draw.
But it must be said, however, that day-to-day trials, yes, are actually more preferred, they are expedient, and they happen.
Yes.
Right.
Now, it's to do with fairness. Justice delayed is justice denied.
Justice hurried is justice buried.
So we have two fighting against themselves. So in between is the balance. So I ask you, what was a week going to cost him? And whose fairness are you after? That of the state or that of the individual? The individual's fairness is actually paramount. And he is saying, give me a week, I'll be back. Hello? So I'm clear that, yes, we have all this.
Well, in the process, you say there's a sympathy value that's been created for your candidate.
So that is why I'm saying that no matter how hard they push, look, the initial even disqualification was an issue. The Supreme Court cases, the judgments that have come out, the whole issues surrounding how he was not even allowed to stand or hold himself out as an MP, even prior to judgment. Why? Just keep him out. Yeah, just keep him out of Parliament. That was the whole idea. And now you are keeping him away from trying to campaign. That is the why the Attorney General is saying. All of a sudden, we know. Look, it is purely Chachi Kwesin's issue. It's a purely political platform, and we will have the debates another time on the legalities after this election.
There's been leave granted for a review of the Supreme Court decision. So there's 7 days that was granted by the Supreme Court for him to file for a review because he's challenging the Supreme Court's decision that something went wrong legally. Right, so we see how that goes. Richard, as I understand, you are in Assin North presently, correct? And it does appear that you're already in some celebratory mood as the NPP that your machine on the ground will deliver the 3,000 plus votes that Chachi Kwesin got in your favor so that you win, correct?
Certainly something you could have said it better. The New Patriotic Party has been on the ground. Fortunately, unfortunately for us, right from Kumawu, we rode in here and we've been working since. And our MO is fairly simple, that we'll go to the people, canvass them, tell them what we want to do, what we have done, and on the basis of that, promise that in the future we'll do more of what we have done for them. And that has been our conversation here, and I think that it's taking hold, and come 27, the New Patriotic Party is going to win. The conversation about the candidate of the NDC is one that I think that the NDC, well after this election, they'll come to terms with what wrong decision they have made. I think that the NDC, right from day one, in 2012, when Mr. Chachi Kwesin showed up, they have mangled all the opportunities they have to decide properly as a political party for who represents them in Assin North. And the consequence of that is what we are all suffering today. In fact, Samson, permit me to share my condolences with the family of one of our communicators here who sadly passed yesterday, all parts of the efforts that we are giving here for victory on the 27th. We are yet to formally inform the family, but some people have been sent to.
So sorry about that. What led to his death? I think there was one earlier death reported on the side of the NDC. What led to this death?
Right. So this was not an accident, but he was involved in an accident with my vehicle much earlier, I think a week or two ago. But then got out and everything. But then yesterday we heard that he had some situation to do with asthma. We're not too sure. But then somehow he was brought to the hospital, and within 30 minutes or so, I was declared dead. And Yes. But we've resolved to move on and to ensure that ultimately, as a party, we win this election to the honor of all who have given the effort, and especially for the good of Assin North. So, Samson, I was saying much earlier that, the NDC conversation about the situation, I wonder sometimes when I hear them if they are listening to themselves. Because here is a gentleman who came from Canada, wanted to contest, wanted to go to Parliament. And Samson,
people who want to go to Parliament have foreknowledge. So they prepare, they do whatever it is they want to do, engage their communities, build relationships, nurture the constituency, and all of that activity goes on. We know that. But Mr. Quayson showed up and in 2012 wanted to contest holding his Canadian citizenship in hand, wanted to contest, commence the process, which begins with a party screening before you get to the point where you go through screening with the Electoral Commission and file. He was holding that in his hand, and then the party disqualified him. And Mr. J.C. Quayson went back to Canada for the ensuing 4 years. 2016 he came, holding the same document in hand. So you have the Samson, if I venture to use this, he has a premeditated motive to want to contest with his candidature, his nationality as a Canadian in hand, until he crosses a certain line, then he feels that he's comfortable and he has won before he go and dispense with it. He came in 2016 with the same, Canadian citizenship in hand, and then contested and lost the primaries. In 2020, he came again. He had it because in 2020, when he came back, he was still holding his nationality as a Canadian. And so you now look at this sequence of events as to how it is that the Quayson, from day one, had this nationality issue and was not able to resolve it. And the NDC did not resolve that issue. And they allowed him to go through their primaries. And they allowed him and watch him file with the EC to contest. And subsequently then says that he's going to renounce it. So I'm saying that he has a motive, and his motive was to commit a crime because it was convenient for him to go that way. He was not looking at the interests of our Constitution. He was looking primarily at his self-interest, not at the interest of people of Assin North. And so what has happened here is what the Quayson has brought upon himself, and in the process have breached our laws. And I think that, in all fairness, in the end, the NDC seeking power is seeking power to uphold the Constitution. And so when somebody has breached the Constitution, I think that it's incumbent on the NDC and all of us to ensure that that person pays for it. Otherwise, you create a moral hazard situation where anybody thinks that they can hide behind their political parties and breach the very law we're all trying to protect and uphold with our Constitution and with our democracy.
It's the president and the vice president, are they going to be there for your campaign?
They certainly will be here. The vice president was here yesterday, as you would see. He was here to commission the 31-kilometer road from Praso to Assin Fosu. That was beautiful. He will be here again tomorrow for our rally, which is a herald of victory on Tuesday. And I think that many more of our top-ranking members from Parliament, ministers, party elders will be here because it is very important for us as a party to be able to go back and help Assin North develop. Right. And you know the story of Assin North, Samson, just briefly. This was a constituency that Honorable Gyampo was the MP of. And every community we have been to, since he came, I was part of his campaign team that went around many other places. Everywhere we went, the people point to infrastructure project, electrification project that he has led to their communities. And ever since his departure, up until 2016 to 2020, there hasn't been any such development. And the people are calling for the return of the New Patriotic Party as a member of parliament to represent the good people of Assin.
Right. My final question to you on this is, there's the, suggestion that you want this extra number to your numbers in parliament to help you do business. But you still won't have, a good number to do business, because you have MPs who are ministers who have to travel almost always, and you will always need the opposition to be able to carry on business in the House. So even if you want this, it doesn't make any difference for the numbers in Parliament. What do you say?
Well, something, that the business of parliamentary work is consensus building. And so even when we had 169 in our first term, we still were engaging with the NDC. So that's a given. There's always going to have to be that dialogue, and it's healthy for our democracy. So it's not a situation where we are looking for a certain magical number, which this one will not be. But you know, what is important? The idea that we would have those numbers is the incidental benefit of victory. But what is key for us in Assin North, why we are given every effort and effort to try and win the seat, is we want to get development to the people. They've been denied development, proper representation that will benefit the people. And we think that the New Patriotic Party gives Assin North a better chance to develop. And that's why we're in this. And we think that on Tuesday, when we win, there will be hope, and there will be development, and there will be progress in Assin North. That's why we're in this, and that's why we're deploying everything that we have in our house now to make sure we win the seat on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'm going back to Ben Epstein. So Ben, now we have 7 candidates who have filed their nominations for the flag bearership. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, former Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen, former Energy Minister Boakye Gyampo, former Minister of State Dr. Konadu Aprako, who had a little glitch but successfully did it, former Agriculture Minister Dr. Owusu-Efiri Akoto, MP for Assin Central Kennedy Agyapong, and former General Secretary of the NPP Kwabena A. Gyapong. From where you sit, how does the contest for the flag bearership look like? The elders of the party initially were trying to see if they could get a consensus candidate so they don't have to go to this voting that have to be done, super delegates and so on, train the number to, is it 5? And then afterwards there's a general voting. Yeah. Okay, I understand that we have a little issue with, yes, hello Ben, so let's hear you. How does it look like?
Hello?
Hello, Ben.
Yes, Samson.
Yes, so the 7 candidates, they attempted to get a consensus candidate. It was clear from the outset that that would not work. So the elders backed off on that. Now 7 have filed. These 7, obviously they will have to go have the number trimmed down, and then eventually the 5 will be voted on. From your assessment, who is leading the pack and why?
Oh, I think that from work I've been doing, I'm finishing my 7th book on Ghana elections, and I did some work before the election of new delegates, and I think that in the it will be Bawumia, Kennedy, and then Alan in that order. This will be the top 3.
Bawumia, Kennedy, and Alan in that order.
Yes.
Kennedy Agyapong will beat Alan Kyerematen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Alan Kyerematen is suffering from not going to Parliament. 15 years ago, he paid and cash. Delegates in the early 20s and early 30s were 15 years at that time. Kennedy has been an MP for 23 years. He's been moving around, talking about the party, go to various conferences. And I think that if Alan beats Kennedy to second place, I'll be very surprised.
So actually, the number who have filed now is supposed to be 8, not only 7, because we have Adanimo also has filed, as we understand. Why do you think that the rest will not amount to much? Efiri Akoto, Dr. Konadu Aprako, the Adanimos, the former General Secretary, all of them, why do you leave them out of the equation, the calculations?
Oh, their name did not come up.
What do you mean by their names did not come up?
You see, what we did was, we asked, before the election of new delegates, the elections, and then after the elections. And the names that kept popping up were these 3. Then we narrowed it down to the 3 just to get in terms of who will be first and the likely percentages, yes, I'm sure the three of them cumulatively would get about maybe 80%, 85% of the total leads. The rest will be shared among the others.
Interesting. So are you suggesting that those who have gone ahead to pay this hefty filing fees to file, they are wasting their time and they don't know about that?
No, something. First, I'm not a delegate. And they will want to be, whenever the history comes of the MPP, for example, and they are being written, the names are written for those who contested for the flag bearership slots. Now there are about 7 or 8, 2 or 3 will be left behind. That is about 1,000 people, 1,000 superdelegates will select the top 5. And about 200,000 delegates countrywide, we decide which of the top 5 will be their flag bearer. And I'll give you from the work I've done, the top 3.
All right. So please hold on there for us briefly. Professor Gyampo, it's a lot of money. Is it 300,000? Well, paying 50,000 to pick the nomination form was not seen as much. But do you expect that some other, aspirants will file? Apart from these 8 that I have listed, Boache Jako, the former energy minister, Francis Adainimo, Kwabena J, Dr. Kunedu Aprako, Dr. Akoto Efriye, Kennedy Japan, these guys. Hello, Dr. Gyampo. Professor Gyampo.
Yes, please.
Yes. Who for you will is leading the pack, and what are your reasons for that?
Oh, in a race?
Yes, 8 of them who have filed so far.
You want me to do this? I mean, I've not done any research. As far as I'm concerned, the race is between 2 key candidates, Alan Semantin and Dr. Baumia, and that's what I can say. The rest will be able to also sail through in a few of them, two or more of them will be able to sail through in the super delegates. But generally, it will be these 2 leading candidates who would face off in the main flag bearer race. And that's what I can say. But if you tell me who is leading, I have not done that research, so I'm not in a position to do that. My caution to them is that one would emerge victorious in the superdelegates, but it's been rumored elsewhere, in some circles, that it may get to that point where after the superdelegates, some people may canvass the idea that since one may have emerged victorious, the others should just understand for the victorious person to delay the flag bearer. And I'm saying that that's not what their party's constitution says. So, and when you say victorious at the superdelegates level, you are talking about the one who get the highest votes. The one who get the highest votes. That's what I mean. And that's not what their party's constitution says. And so NPP, even though they have broken their own laws on several occasions, it's a party of laws and rules. And so I would urge them that they should manage this particular process very well, because political parties that have been intact have not even been able to break the 8. And so if you are seeking to break the 8, then you cannot afford schisms and disintegrations. What I foresee is that if the processes leading to the selection of the flag bearer for their party is not fair, if it's not level, I foresee a breakaway from the party. and that would make the party bleed till it dies. And the caliber of people who are now contesting are people of pedigree. If Dr. Bawumia thinks that the processes are not fair and so he wants to break away, he will take a huge chunk of the support base of the party. If Alan Chemantin feels that the processes are not fair, he will take a huge chunk of the support base of the party and then can elicit support from other areas too. And they may be formidable forces. And so the party will bleed. So the party that is seeking to break the aid shouldn't be the party that should allow
who do you tip will win?
Who do I tip will
win?
Oh, you two. I've said it. I've told you that it's a race between the two. I've not conducted any research.
Yes, but what's your hunch? You observe, you speak to a lot of people, and so on, and you are a political scientist. So who do you think among this lot?
Your people are ready. Your online portal people, they are ready, so they'll go and make a headline. What I'm telling you is that as a political scientist, I can only speak from the angle of research and empirical data. I have not done that yet. Maybe
you are not a man. You are not a man known to shy away from controversy.
I am revising my notes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Professor Gyampo. Now, Alex, there are suggestions that eventually it will come down to Dr. Bawumia and Alan Chemantin. And there's a potentially, the suggestion is that the two may have to come together. Do you see this as a possibility? No, I'm talking to Alex Segafia here.
Okay, all right.
My position on this is very clear. We really don't care what they do. Absolutely don't care. The baggage that is being carried by whoever comes as a result of the performance of this government, anyone who comes is going to sink. Whatever permutation they put forward, whoever is the leader of the party, and it gets worse even when you mention the two forerunners, because they have been part of government. One more so than even the other. So if you even put them together, you make matters worse. So as far as I'm concerned, the NPP is in a very bad place in terms of trying to create a front which gives Ghanaians the hope that something is going to change in Ghana.
They suggest to you that President Mahama is coming from the north. For the first time, if they are lucky, they have a candidate from the north. Even before he gets to this, he has broken your hold of the north. That they have come to lead you in the numbers in parliament in the north. So if they have that ticket, it's done for John Mahama. That's the end of him.
John Mahama had 4.5 million votes in 2016. We lost. NPP had 150 something seats. We had 106 seats. The same John Mahama has moved to 6.5 million votes for the president, 6 million for us. So an increase of 1.5 million people in 2020 election. And we've moved from 106 to 137. Historically, the trajectory is going one way. So as for statistics and things, you look at them and you give your story. I'm sure others will say differently. The bottom line is that most elections have been impacted by the state of the economy of the country and how people feel about a current government after 8 years. The NPP is looking very, very bad in that. In fact, no government that I can think of has come from such a low trajectory. All the macroeconomic are against them. And yes, some will change by the time we get there. But people are not forgetful. Most decisions are made the year before the election. That is also historical. By the time you are done your third year, most people know. So you then play with the swing.
They have been telling Ghanaians, and they will continue to tell Ghanaians that, and some Ghanaians know that it's not exactly their fault that the economy is where it is.
No, it's exactly their fault. Let me just make this clear. It's not that, it's exactly their fault. The level of incompetence and lack of planning that has gone into Ghana in the last 7 years has brought us where we are. Why? How many countries will ever reach 54% inflation? How many? We've got there. Why? The borrowing. Why? COVID came and borrowed money for Ghana. They borrowed it. They're the government. Neither did the Russian recruitment borrow money. It is our debts. Have we ever been under a domestic debt exchange like this, ever? So what has that got to do with all these things they're talking about? It is the debt position that has created it. And that is created by the NPP government. They borrowed, they were warned. So I quickly want to put that aside. Let's not, nobody should buy into this propaganda about, yes, globally the COVID has had an impact. Yes, globally the Russian recruitment war has had an impact. But why isn't every country in the same position that we are in? To this level of the macroeconomic indicators. Even going to the IMF of itself is not necessarily something that you can say, oh, because, but the extent to which we have had to, the conditions. Why? People cannot, bonds are at risk.
I never would have thought that you could talk about Ghana in terms of, our CD and its development, and the comparison is that we are only better than, is it Zimbabwe and one other country, in that regard. But you know that elections are not exactly on these numbers.
No, our biggest problem since in the last election 2020 is we never believed, and we still do not believe, that we had a free and fair election. In fact, if you have a referee that can explain their decisions, then you have a problem. So regardless of what anybody says in the courtroom, we have a right to information bill and all that. So at least tell us how you came about things. So we are clear in our mind that our biggest problem is to ensure that we count our numbers properly. We've raised our hands on that.
Interesting.
Just going back to the point, I've heard my colleague about Chachi Kwesen. We have learned our lessons. We know. He made a comment about, yes, even this year, we have made it clear, because of the timing of our elections for the parliamentary, people are allowed to contest even if they have dual citizenship. But by March 2024, if you haven't brought your certificate, the seat becomes vacant and we have a quick election. So we are alive. This issue of why should education come 2012, you don't know our rules at the time.
Well,
and you shouldn't speak for us.
Well, maybe by that time, Parliament would have passed the amendment to the Constitution to remove the impediment on dual citizens. There's a bill.
I'm hoping that would come to pass.
All right.
Which, by the way, John Mahama has promised to push.
Okay. Richard, thank you once again. So, I know I haven't heard you yet where exactly you stand, but too many of you in the NPP, in Parliament, towards Dr. Baumia, and some people say you are not helping to create a level playing field for the flag bearer race. How do you respond to that?
Samson, thank you very much. My senior brother said a lot of things I will probably be veering off if I want to respond to him. But I just want to say one thing where he says that their program is the electoral commission. When you have a commissioner who cannot explain their actions, I want to say, Samson, you are the lawyer. If a litigant does not have a case, will he have a day in court? They have confirmed to us that in 2021, the election petition, they didn't have a case. They have confirmed that in their own
he says we have an RTI law and you can demand information. The last time we checked, they have not filed an RTI request to the Electoral Commission for that information. Well. So please, let's proceed with the flag bearer race.
So the key is that they are their own problem. Nobody is their problem. And being their own problem is simply that they are incompetent, they mismanage the economy, and that's why they were voted out. what we have now, the situation of our economy now is well known. And I'm happy my senior brother admitted that yes, Russia, Ukraine has had an impact, COVID has had an impact. Their only problem is that they are trying to minimize the impact it has. But globally, it is established that this is the reason the global economy is in distress, and Ghana is no exception. So we'll go to the election. Ghanaians know.
What do you say about the complaint that your MPs and a good number of you going to the Baumia camp is not helping to give a level playing field for the candidates?
Well, something you want me to move away from the economy story, but I think that's the key matter I want to say. But you know,
we are talking about your flag bearer race.
Oh, but he was talking about the economy anyway. But the matter at issue, I think that is really a matter of people's opinion. It's democracy, and it's democracy. People are free to choose. I have not made any such declaration. Others who are comfortable, they can make that declaration. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. What it is that we should expect from them is that so they don't use what their declared position is to affect the prospect of another. If that doesn't happen in a democracy, I think that people are free to select what vision they want to support, and I think that that's what is at play.
That's exactly the effect of these declarations of support, is it not?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You can estimate some perceived impact, but I don't see any substantial impact of that. What will be consequential, Samson, is that if anybody...
what just happened? Sorry, Assin North, his line has been cleared. Yes.
That would be...
Go ahead.
And so I'm saying that if anybody affects the other with their declared position, then that would be a problem. In my standing, for example, as a director of communication, if I am to say that I am for this candidate, this candidate, how, perhaps assuming that I have said that, if that colors the way I do my work, if that becomes a basis for me to do what I do differently in order to benefit the candidate or the person I support, then that will be problematic. But in the ordinary sense, if people support one person because they believe in a certain vision that it carries, I don't think that is a problem. But ultimately, the new patriotic party will prevail. And I can tell you simply why that is the case. Because we have attempted in a difficult time to steer this economy in the right direction. The NDC, however, doesn't have any message. When they run this economy aground, something, you were here in this country, they didn't have any proposition. Even when they were in a storm, they didn't have any solution.
Do you have a sense of which of those who have filed will emerge after the superdelegates? Do you have a sense?
Something, I think the delegates will decide that, and when that is decided, we'll all know. Right now, there are estimates from that are saying that our delegates will decide, and they will decide the right candidates. In fact, something, any one of these people, I think my check this morning is that 9 people are filed. And so any one of these personalities will give us a better leadership than the NDC can afford. And I think that I stand with the party, and I stand with the party simply meaning that in the end, when the votes are cast, anybody who wins, I will commit my time, my energy, and dedication to ensure that they become the next president of this republic. It will not be an
Okay, Richard, I was going to ask you this very last question. Our time is up. I was going to ask you that after the super delegates, is it likely within your party, is that the conversation going on, that there will emerge a consensus candidate?
Well, if that happens, then that is good. Then that would be democracy still at play. But I believe that ultimately, our party delegates will be given a chance to make that decision. Somehow, our delegates always get it right. The party has about it a spirit that leads it to arrive at the right candidate. And when that is done, the NPP will all rally behind that individual for victory in 2024.
Thank you. Ben Epson, in the 2020 elections, the NDC lost as many as 17 seats in all. Now, 15 of this came from the north. The NPP's gain has been attributed to Bawumia. How much is Bawumia a threat to the NDC's candidate going into the 2024 elections? Did I lose Ben Epson? Okay, we lost Ben Epson, but time is almost up. Just some 2 minutes. I'm not sure we can get that. Is Gyampo still on?
Yes, please, I'm here.
Yeah. So that question I just asked to Ben Epson. In 2020, the NDC lost a total of 17 seats, 15 of that from the north. The projection is that this is attributed to Bawumia's work. How much is Bawumia a threat to John Mahama in going to 2024 if Bawumia emerges?
Well, you are saying if he emerges. Well, if he emerges, he has a pedigree. He's campaigning, and he's still campaigning, and his work in getting the party secure victory in previous elections are known for everybody to appreciate. And so, definitely, if the party decides to give him the nod to lead them as flag bearer, he will definitely be a force to reckon with. But the point must also be made that what we are talking about is a hypothetical situation. And also take note that the other side, the NDC, is also not resting on its oars. They are also working hard. And so I foresee a keenly competitive election. The same would apply to whoever is given the opportunity to leave the party NPP as flag bearer. That is, if it goes to Alan, it's also a serious force to reckon with. And a lot of people in the grapevine are actually saying that he would even have more to do in terms of creeping up support base, because it appears that the NDC is not really attacking. They are yet to
okay. Yeah, Prof. I'm sorry, but this all time will allow us. Thank you all so very much, gentlemen, for the work you have assisted us to do for Mother Ghana. Just a couple of messages before we go. We haven't left you. We have not forgotten that you are sending us messages. Amma McGold says, I'm having the feeling that Alan will pull a shocker and it will be a huge statement against the mess of this government led by Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. ED Black says, did Richard just say the people of Assin North have been denied development, so a win for NPP will bring back development? Well, they are there doing all the things that has to be done. Edu Pong says, is Richard aware Kwesing wrote a year in advance and that the EC cleared him